Hello. It's a bright, beautiful Sunday. I got the trailer cleaned up yesterday. Of course, all the little helicopters are all over it today. Since we got it cleaned up, I cleaned the deck and everything. Being a new trailer, I'm gonna go ahead and try to stain this deck. So I'm gonna sand some of this down just a little bit to make it a little bit smoother. It's got some little imperfections in it and some scuffs in it from where I got it. I'm not really sure what they drug across it, but if there's a tire or another trailer was sitting on it or what when it got shipped. So I'm gonna try to clean some of that stuff off and get it ready for some stain. Try to protect this deck as best we can, keep it looking good and new for as long as possible. So that's going to be the plan. I got the sander out, some sandpaper, nothing drastic on it, but I would like to try to make it look as clean as possible and maybe as smooth as possible. So we'll hit this a little bit and we'll get started here. As you see, I have very trusting dogs. Very trusting dogs. Yeah. Can you watch out of the way? Huh? Yes, my little buddy. My little buddy that always has to be with me. Of course, my other one, she's always got to be with me too, but she's laying under the trailer. She's probably looking for a section of mud to lay in. tell you what, I guess the bigger the trailer you get, the bigger the deck you got, the bigger you got to mess with on this stuff. Thing's huge. There's my other one. Hi, girl. Alright, all blow dried, cleaned off. Should be good enough to put a coat stain on it. Nothing special, just like to protect it a little bit, make it look better, hopefully. We'll see. I picked a dark one, so we'll see what it looks like. Be back to you in a few. I know some might say this is a little overkill, but I am going to shine up these tires. This Hydro tire shine. Works pretty good, stays a long time. Little overkill, but I think it'll make it look a lot nicer. And with these wheels, the tires, that is hard to do. The thing I like about this stuff is it stays on a while. It doesn't flow all over the vehicle. And I won't have to put it on these for a while, and these tires will still stay looking good. I run it on most of my trucks as well. Put it on once every couple months, and like I said, it just stays on really well and keeps the tires looking good. You just wash them and it stays pretty good. And I haven't even used a quarter of this bottle, and I've done 2 trucks, a couple trailers. This is the before we stain it. So next we'll do staining, see what it looks like. Alright, we got the stain. Very dark brown. Let's see how this looks. Not really sure yet, so we'll check it out. Okay, here it is now. Final product, I think. It's 2 coats. A gallon just made it. I have like a ½ an inch left in the can. That's about it. I'm happy with that. Don't have any extra. I have just enough for any little touch-up spots, I would say, which I'm sure I'll find some tomorrow. So I'll look over it again and find it, but it definitely transformed the look of this thing. So hopefully it lasts good and protects the deck. We'll see you on the next one. There's one of my helpers, and here's the other one.
Thanks for watching that video. If you do like and subscribe.